Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're plunging into the world of Ares, the Greek god of war. But our sources, we've got insights from the Theoi Project, analysis from the World History Encyclopedia, and this really thought-provoking video transcript called Ares, God of Primal Might and Hidden Influence. They all suggest there's, well, a lot more going on.
Yeah, exactly. It's easy to just slap the God of War label on him and move on.
Right. So forget that one-dimensional brute idea. Our mission today is really to unpack the layers of Ares.
Absolutely. And for you, the learner, this isn't going to be just reciting old stories. We're aiming for, a richer feel for this god.
Someone often just seen in black and white.
Right, exploring his influence, his role, and maybe even surprisingly, what he might still sort of tell us about ourselves.
Okay, so let's kick off with that common picture. Ares is just brutal, bloody warfare.
The standard view.
Yeah, the World History Encyclopedia, Theoi Project, they both hit this hard. The chaos, the horror. Hesiod calls him shield-piercing, city-sacking. It's visceral.
It really is. He's the god of the doing of war, the physical act.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that video transcript pushes it further.
How so?
It suggests his influence goes into core human courage, sure, but also raw instinct, that almost animalistic rage, even civil unrest, rebellion.
So not just armies clashing on a field.
Exactly. It makes you wonder, is Ares tapping into something deeper, more primal inside us?
And that contrast with Athena really brings it out, doesn't it?
Definitely.
She's the strategist, the smarts behind the war, Ares. He seems to be all about that wild, untamed aggression.
It's like two sides of the war coin, but valued very differently. Athena gets the respect for wisdom.
Ares represents the messy part.
Pretty much. The visceral, uncontrolled element. The Greeks clearly saw both were part of conflict. It wasn't all just strategy.
Okay, but then you get these contradictions in the myths, like his famous affair with Aphrodite.
Right. The goddess of love. And she's married to Hephaestus.
War and love feels like total opposites.
But maybe they're not. That's what's so compelling. It suggests these forces are somehow fundamentally linked.
What do you mean?
Well, look at their kids. You get harmonia, harmony in Eros, desire. But you also get Deimos, fear, and Phobos, terror.
Ah, okay. So it's a mix.
A really complex mix. It makes you think maybe creation and destruction, attraction and repulsion.
Yeah.
Maybe they're more tangled up than we like to admit.
It does blur things. And speaking of contradictions, this supposedly mighty war god, he gets beaten a lot.
Yeah, it's curious, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even by mortals like Heracles and Diomedes.
And Athena just, threw a rock at him?
Flattened him with a rock, yeah. The video transcript asks, is this showing he's weak or is it more symbolic?
Symbolic of what?
Maybe about the limits of just pure aggression. That rage without reason ultimately fails.
That makes sense. Raw power isn't enough.
Precisely. Could be cautionary tales, You need the strategy, the intelligence, the Athena stuff, which Ares often, lacks.
And didn't he get captured by giants?
He did. Ephialtes and Otis stuffed him in a bronze jar for a year. Hermes had to rescue him.
Wow. Not a great look for a war god.
No, it really underlines that vulnerability, even for the divine embodiment of war.
Okay, let's switch gears to his symbols. The Theoi Project lists the usual stuff: peaked, helmet, shield, spear, standard warrior kit.
Yep, pretty straightforward.
But the animals associated with him, they seem darker.
The serpent?
His sacred animal.
And vultures, certain owls, symbols of ill omen, right?
Exactly. And the video connects these to scavenging, primal aggression. It feeds back into that untamed aspect we talked about.
So the symbols aren't really about heroic battle glory.
Not so much. They seem to ground Ares in the grim reality of war. The serpent is pure danger. Vultures are the aftermath. Stark stuff.
Less noble hero, more raw force of nature.
Something like that. And the links to mythical monsters like the Colchian dragon guarding the golden fleece or the Ismenian dragon. That also points to this raw kind of earthly power. So, given all this, how much was he actually worshipped? Because the sources say his cult wasn't huge in Greece.
Yeah, that's another interesting point. According to Theoi and World History Encyclopedia, not nearly as widespread as, say, Zeus or Apollo.
Except in Sparta.
Ah, Sparta, yes. The big exception. Given their whole society was built around the military, it makes sense they'd value him more.
They had that statue of him in chains, right? What was that about?
It's a fascinating image. The idea was that the spirit of war, their martial spirit, should never leave the city, so they chained him there, symbolically.
Wow. Intense. And there were even reports of human sacrifice.
There are reports, yes, in Sparta, which again suggests a really intense, maybe even fearful kind of relationship with him there. It probably reflects how different parts of Greece viewed war itself.
Then things change completely with the Romans. Ares becomes Mars.
And suddenly he's a huge deal. Much more central, much more serious, maybe?
He's the father of Romulus and Remus, the founders of Rome itself.
Exactly. And a whole month, March, named after him. It's a total transformation.
The video asks, did Rome somehow find a more, constructive way to use his energy?
That's a great question. Maybe it reflects how Rome saw war, not just chaos, but as a tool for building their empire, imposing order, albeit, through force.
So the cultural context really reshaped him.
Completely. It shows how these figures aren't static. Their meaning evolves with the society looking at them.
And bringing it to today, that video transcript suggests heirs can be seen as a symbol.
A symbol of humanity's own capacity for violence, that deep-seated potential for aggression.
And the struggle to balance those primal urges with, reason.
I think that interpretation really lands. It takes Ares out of just ancient history and makes him relevant, a timeless symbol for part of the human condition we're still grappling with.
Yeah, it forces you to think about our own relationship with conflict, doesn't it? Both in society and maybe within ourselves.
Absolutely.
So, wrapping this up, in our deep dive today, we've definitely gone way beyond just Ares, god of war. We've touched on his links to courage, but also primal instinct, his weird defeats, those complex relationships.
His surprising vulnerability, the evolution from Greece to Rome.
Yeah, it's a much richer picture.
It is. And maybe the final thought for you, the listener, is this. Considering all these facets, the brutality and the courage, the defeats and the power, the connection to love and strife, what does Ares still tell us?
About our own complicated relationship with conflict.
Exactly. And with those primal forces inside us. Homer called him the curse of men. Is that all he is? Something just to be pushed down?
Or is there something more complex, more nuanced we can still learn from understanding him, even now?
It's a question that definitely sticks with you. It's echoed down through the ages, really.